installation where the investigation is ongoing as to what happened there.
Do we know the connection between that and this?
Still under investigation.
But the suspect is here at this paving location. He is down or in custody, or has he been shot and killed? What's his status?
The suspect is was down at the military installation, not here.
Not here, but this is where the victims are. And do we have any idea what that person's possible connection to Fort Detrick would be?
Still under investigation.
And you're Alan?
Etzler, E-T-Z-L-E-R.
City of Frederick?
Yep, the police department's PIO.
Okay.
At 10:30.
Okay, so I'm assuming I was just sticking my phone in his mouth, basically. You heard Alan from the City of Frederick Police Department. That's the very latest, is that the alleged, I guess you could say, or gunman, in this situation here at the paving stone complex where two people have been shot, eventually made it over to Fort Detrick and was taken down there. So we don't know what that means. Has he been shot and killed, shot, wounded, whatever, just brought into custody? We don't know. But that's the significance of the two locations. The initial shooting scene here on Monocacy Boulevard at this industrial park kind of area. And it doesn't look like, at least where the police are, there are multiple businesses. It looks like it's this Nicolac paving stones location where two people were shot, and then however they found out or chased or whatever, the suspect in the shooting here, taken down are the two words they're using to describe that person's ultimate fate. What that means, we just don't know yet. But that was at Fort Detrick, Holly.
Bob, is the Nico paving systems, is it just like its own section? Are there other businesses that are right next to it, or they're across the way? Like, I'm just wondering if there were other people working in and around the area when this all went down.
Yeah, that's a good question, Holly. I'm just walking up a hill here. There is like a kind of like an industrial park with a number of other businesses, none that are I see one, but it's too far to read correctly, that have names. So there are a number of businesses in like adjacent, like a warehouse setting, adjacent units in this complex across Monocacy Boulevard. But where all the police are at Nicolac Paving Stones, it looks like that complex, that property is all in and of itself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Holly, I was looking at a map of Nicolac of Maryland, and Bob just stated it eloquently that it is the only business at the end of that section where he's located. There is another business like not too far away called Countertopia. Those are the only, according to this map, those are the only two businesses in that particular area that are close to Nicolac paving systems in Frederick, Maryland.
Again, we are waiting to hear officially from police. Bob is there on the scene. He said he saw them setting up already for a briefing that should happen hopefully in and around 10:30 so that we can get some official word. The official on the scene there confirming to Bob that we had two victims there at the paving stone company, and then the suspect.
Hey, guys?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to transition from the telephone to the TV camera here in a second, so I'm going to hang up if that's all right with you guys.
That's wonderful. We would prefer to see you, Bob.
Well, I don't know if everybody else will, but I appreciate that, Holly. I'll see you in a moment.
All right. Well, we look forward to getting his pictures there from down on the ground so we can see perhaps even just a different vantage point for ourselves as to all the activity at this first primary location. Of course, without a doubt, we are in continuing coverage mode here and have other people on the way to the scenes, as there are multiple scenes, and we need eyes on the ground everywhere. Skyfox doing a great job of giving us the overhead of the whole entire area, which covers, I guess, about maybe a 5-mile area or so. Like I said, when I did the Google Maps between the Paving Stone Company and Fort Detrick, it said it was like a 10 to 12-minute drive, about 4.5 miles or so. But as you heard the official tell Bob, there were the two victims that were shot there apparently at the Paving Stone Company. Both of those have life-threatening injuries. They have been airlifted to shock trauma in Baltimore. That's all we know in terms of their conditions. And then it looks as if the suspect fled to Fort Detrick. We don't know the connection of this person to the military installation, but that suspect was apprehended outside of the gates at Fort Detrick. And again, we don't know exactly what that means. Was he arrested? Was he shot? Or she? We don't know if it's he or she. Hopefully we will get more of that information as it becomes available to us, hopefully in this briefing that is minutes away, about 12 minutes, hopefully. But Wisdom, we were talking earlier, you know, when you're talking about all this area for them to avoid, it's as if this entire area is just pressed, paused, and on lockdown, because we have this scene, we have Fort Detrick on lockdown, and we have all of the schools out of an abundance of caution on lockdown as well.
Right. With the Nico Lock and the business where they're located, that's where Monocacy Boulevard, where Bob Barnard said he was located. So that part is shut down. And Nico Lock, by the way, appears to be a company that it represents the Mid-Atlantic region. They have offices in Long Island, New Jersey, Maryland, and Connecticut as well. There's two businesses over in that area at the Monocacy Boulevard and Progress Court. It's kind of isolated off in there. So Nico Lock is in the back. Doesn't appear to be anything behind Nico Lock. And then in the front, a little bit of ways, is that Countertopia business that I was mentioning earlier. So there's going to be a lot of congestion in an area when you think about the magnitude of the situation, where you're talking about two people that have been shot, a suspect who was down, and then going from there over to Fort Detrick. So you can expect a lot of congestion and a lot of traffic, a lot of issues. So that's why they're saying basically avoid this area while they do their investigation.
Yeah. And we actually want to go to Bob. We had him on the phone a few minutes ago, and now we can pull him up on camera here. And Bob, we can actually see for the first time some images from the ground. Tell us what's going on there. I can see it far in the distance, some activity.
Yeah, Jeanette, so I'll be able to now let you see what I've been seeing and reporting by phone here. This is the Nico Lock Paving Stones business across Monocacy Boulevard. This is Monocacy Boulevard, which is closed, obviously, now. So that's the business. And if you look off to the right, these are all the police vehicles here. You have, state police, Maryland State Police, Frederick City, I would imagine Frederick County as well here. And so this is the police presence here, where the initial shooting happened around 8:30 this morning, is what we were told. And then the subsequent takedown of the apparent gunman over at Fort Detrick, which has apparently been given the all clear. So whether that person, and we don't know, and maybe we'll find out in less than 10 minutes here when this news conference is scheduled, we'll find out whether that person was apprehended, killed, hurt, what have you. But the apparent gunman in this morning's incident is either down or no longer at Fort Detrick, because they've gotten the all clear there. But you see here at this Nico Lock Paving and Stones complex off of Monocacy Boulevard that there is still a very large police presence. And I'll just show you down to the left here. This is kind of where we'll stay here, but just show you this is where the news conference, we have a second camera that's going to provide that. But the authorities will be right here on Monocacy Boulevard, we're told, in about 10 minutes, giving us an update. And I want to pan off to the right here, all the way up here, Sanan, show them this complex here. So this is the other place I was telling you about. Let's kind of walk up here and just show you. So this is another complex. Yeah.
Hey, Bob.
Okay, okay, all right, yeah. So this is another complex here that has a number of businesses. Okay, okay, here we go. So now they're asking us to come down.
Okay, and I also want
to go down this hill.
Listen to this if you can, Bob, because this is actually on Nico Lock's website, nicolock.com, and it says, for immediate release, coming from this company, a recent report has indicated that a shooting took place today at Nico Lock Paving Stones facility in Frederick, Maryland. However, this is not correct. There was a shooting within the industrial park where the Nico Lock facility is located, and a victim entered our property seeking help. Our team was able to assist them and called the authorities. We are pleased to report that all the Nico Lock employees are safe. That is posted immediately on their website when you go onto it. So more of the story.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, more of the story unfolding there, and hopefully they'll confirm that in the briefing that's set to happen relatively soon.
Yeah, and that's how these things happen. You hear active shooter, and then the shooter is down, and obviously there is a story here, perhaps of several layers, but you just don't know it when you're first getting upon the scene and getting the first bits of information. So what we can do is show you the scene outside Nico Lock Paving and Stones, and for the folks who work there or affiliated with that business, it's good to hear that nobody there was directly impacted, other than what they're reporting is that one of the victims of this shooting entered their complex. So perhaps it was a shooting out on the street. You know, I will tell you, just a little ways up, like probably less than a half mile up Monocacy Boulevard here, there are businesses. There's a Dunkin' Donuts and a Roy Rogers on the corner of 26 and Monocacy Boulevard. So there are a lot of other places other than these businesses in this particular area where this may have all started. We just don't know, and hopefully we'll find out some of those details. But this is the main police scene at the moment, and I wish we knew more of the details. We're getting some, obviously, from some of the interested parties here, and you know, we'll be here and bring that to you and share anything we can. We were kind of up this hill here trying to show you some of the other businesses in the area, and the gentleman we interviewed live on the phone who's with Frederick City Police was kind of calling us back. I think this is as far into this area of this, put air quotes, crime scene that they want us to get. So we've backed off just a little bit. But this is still a fairly decent vantage point for what's going on currently here at this shooting scene location. Fort Detrick, you guys have been reporting, I think, just in the last few minutes, that area has been cleared, where the apparent gunman involved in the shooting here or very near to here has been taken down.
We're putting up the statement there that I just stumbled onto when I was going to just do some background information on that company to kind of see, you know, what they were. And they're a significant company. They represent the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast in terms of providing paving stones, retaining walls, outdoor living, hardscapes such as that, and have been in business 50+ years. And when I clicked on it, this is immediately what came up. And this was a release that they are putting out to say that this was not a workplace shooting at their workplace. It didn't involve their employees, that they're all safe, but that the shooting actually did happen within that industrial park complex. So the shooting was within the industrial park. The Nicolak facility is located there, and obviously it's a significant business, so it takes up a good portion of it. A victim, we know there are two, but apparently one of the victims entered their property asking for help. And then their team was able to assist them and also call the police in the process. We know those original calls coming in around 9 o'clock this morning. So this is a situation that's been going on almost 2.5 hours now. 2 victims confirmed, 2 victims with life-threatening injuries, both airlifted to shock trauma in Baltimore. That's all we know. And then we also, of course, know the suspect was taken down outside of the gates at Fort Detrick, about 4.5 miles away. No word on what the connection is between Fort Detrick and the suspect or what's going on there. Again, hopefully more of those details will become apparent when authorities speak to us relatively soon.
And Holly, I don't know if you have our shot up here on the ground, but we see a number of law enforcement types heading this way. So perhaps we are going to get this briefing, you know, right on time or maybe a minute or two early. So I'm going to kind of step over where we have our other camera where the mics are and kind of listen into that. But perhaps we're going to find out a little bit more of the details very shortly here.
Yeah, we're expecting to hear from Chief Jason Lando at this news conference, as well as the Mayor Michael O'Connor to give us an update in a matter of minutes. So we're going to keep that up live and continue this coverage this morning as we see Bob Barnard there live on the scene.
Bob, I'm curious. I saw a lot of people on Twitter describing people from that area, describing the scene as a bit chaotic, at least in the beginning. Obviously, police, you would imagine, were trying to get a handle on all of this, given that there are 3 scenes. Did you get that sense at all when you first arrived on the scene, just to give people an idea of what's going on there?
No, and because, you know, by the time I arrived here a couple minutes after 10, it was, 90 minutes after this initial shooting happened. So by the time I arrived and my eyes could see what you're seeing now from our ground level vantage point, it was calm. I mean, a lot of flashing lights, as you can see, some of them, a lot of people here, but no running around, no guns drawn, nothing like that. And people in some of these other businesses, to the right of as you're looking at the screen up there, just standing around with police and watching, looking down over the scene, but nobody seemed to be in a frantic state at all. Just trying to learn what the heck was going on, like everybody else.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I am seeing on Twitter from a confirmed source that they are reporting that the suspect in the shooting is dead. So obviously we'll probably get confirmation of that in the press conference that is about to happen. But all they were saying earlier was that the suspect was taken down outside of the gates of Fort Detrick. But more of the story starting to unfold as we are learning different things here this morning. And I'm sure, Jeanette, I can only imagine that it was a chaotic scene at the very beginning. But it looks like now they're trying to obviously get a hold on as much as they can and are going to brief us all relatively soon here.
Yeah, and as we take a look at the active scene from Sky Fox, I know where Bob is, you're going to have some trouble traveling through that area if you're trying to make your way to work or anywhere you need to be. Monocacy Boulevard dealing with a lot of police activity, and they're in fact asking everyone to avoid Monocacy Boulevard and Progress Court in that area. Again, that's just one of several scenes for the media briefing that they are setting up in just the next few minutes. You're going to encounter just a lot of police and fire activity. They're having a very busy day out there. We're keeping Bob posted of all the traffic. He's keeping us posted from the scene as we take a look at that map. Again, Fort Detrick, you want to avoid that area, the roads surrounding there, 15 dealing with a lot of traffic, as well as 70, including that area where the industrial complex is along Progress Court.
Now, one more thing. Let me throw in another traffic issue here for this area. In addition to all of this that's going on and all of the traffic updates that we've been giving you, and Bob, you can jump in at any time if they start talking.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that they already had plans to deal with a funeral today at 1 p.m. from 1 to 4 for the Frederick and Thurmont residents they were telling them to avoid that, a lot of parts of this area because there was a funeral today for the Brunswick, Maryland police chief. So that's already on the table, and then now you have this. So that's going to make the traffic situation even worse there now that they're investigating this fatal shooting.
Wisdom, we are also receiving confirmation from the U.S. Navy that U.S. sailors, plural, were involved in this shooting. U.S. sailors were involved in the shooting. That's coming from the U.S. Navy. So there's the military connection that we perhaps had been looking for. Don't know if those are the victims. One victim, one of the suspects, we don't know. We just know that U.S. sailors were involved in this shooting. We know that 3 people were involved in the shooting for sure, in terms of 2 victims, life-threatening injuries at the hospital as we speak, and then the suspect taken down outside of Fort Detrick there in Maryland. I'm assuming that Fort Detrick's still on lockdown. Haven't received word that it's not. We also know that the schools in the area are on lockdown. But as you can see on the left-hand side there, you got Sky Fox that has been covering it from the sky, hanging high above the scene there, showing us the big picture on the right. Many officials gathering there as they are set to give us all a briefing. Original time they said was around 10:30. It's 10:31 right now. Looks like it's pretty imminent, and we will get confirmation of exactly what happened and what went down here this morning, or at least what they know up to this point. Obviously, this is an investigation that is ongoing. But there was a shooting in an industrial park area there. Suspect fled to Fort Detrick. That suspect was taken down outside of Fort Detrick. And that's really most of what we have confirmed at this point. Everything just in the area, basically on lockdown. As Aaron's been reporting, they're asking, obviously, everybody stay away from that area in terms of traffic because there's a lot of roads that are closed down. And right now we're receiving the two-minute warning that we should be hearing something. Is that what you got, Bob?
Yeah, they're just telling us 2 minutes till our update, and just looking at my map, Fort Detrick from us is almost due west, both being north where we are and where Fort Detrick is north of the downtown Frederick area. It's less than 5 miles as the crow flies, but it's about a 13-minute drive, zigzagging due west of here. So let's tune in. We're going to get the update here from officials and hopefully learn more about what happened here this morning, perhaps involving members of our military. And you see the authorities assembling here, and clearly 2 scenes, no more than that, starting out as an active shooter situation, which is obviously no longer the case, especially if these reports that perhaps the gunman, the person who fired the shots initially here at 8:30 this morning just north of Frederick is dead. And again, we're going to get all this confirmed here just momentarily. So they'll be stepping up. I'm trying to read some of the Obviously, you have Maryland State Police. And a Maryland State Police, and here they come walking up, and I'm sure Frederick City Police will probably be in charge here. Let's listen in. Steve, are you good? I have a mic here. This is the gentleman we spoke to earlier.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are on scene today for an active shooter investigation. My name is Alan Etzler, A-L-L-E-N. I am A-L-L-E-N-E-T-Z-L-E-R. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Frederick Police Department. Today we are joined by Chief Jason Lando, who is going to give an overview of what happened today. We are also joined by Mayor Michael O'Connor, who will give a statement. We are joined by Lieutenant Andrew Alcorn, who is going to answer any additional questions that we have. And we've also received additional support from the FBI's Baltimore Field Office. Special Agent in Charge Jennifer Boone has joined us, as well as Assistant Special Agent in Charge Shay Gibson. And we are joined by the Maryland State Police as well, Captain Eric Corbin, the Troop Commander for Maryland State Police Western Maryland. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Lando.
Good morning. At approximately 8:20 this morning, Frederick Police and our partner law enforcement agencies received a call for an active shooter in the Riverside Tech Park on Progress Drive in the city of Frederick. Upon arrival at the scene, they found 2 adult males had been shot. Both males were in critical condition. They were flown by helicopter to Baltimore Shock Trauma. Shortly after that, we received information the shooter, a 38-year-old male, traveled to the Fort Detrick military base. As our officers and our partner agencies began responding there, we were given notice that personnel on the base had shot the suspect and he was down. When we arrived at that scene, life-saving efforts were in progress, and we were notified shortly thereafter that the shooter was reported dead. At this time, the last update we have is that both of our victims are in critical condition at Baltimore Shock Trauma. We just wanted to thank all of the law enforcement agencies, Frederick County Sheriffs, the Maryland State Police, the FBI, and the Frederick County Fire and Rescue, and their representatives are all standing behind me. They all came out immediately, and they're all assisting in the investigation. As you can imagine, this is a very active scene right now. We have 2 different scenes. All I can tell you is that we have confirmed there is only one shooter. The public is no longer at risk. Everyone is safe. No officers were injured, and there were no other injuries to bystanders other than the 2 victims that I first told you about. So at this time, there's no further cause for alarm in the Frederick community. And with that, we'll open it up for limited questions. I'm sorry, Mayor O'Connor is going to speak, and then we'll open it up for limited questions. So let me turn it over to Mayor O'Connor, please.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate everybody coming out today. This is certainly not the way any of us expected our Tuesday to begin. I just want to send the city's wishes to the families of the victims in the hopes for quick recoveries. There's a lot of, as the Chief said, collaboration and cooperation in a situation like this with the agencies behind us. Sheriff's Office, State Police, the FBI, Frederick County Fire and Rescue, our police department. I just want to compliment the representatives from each of those agencies for their quick response to get this situation quickly under control with Fort Detrick as well, to assure that the community is safe. We have great working relationships between our law enforcement partners here in Frederick County. We're very proud of that, and it demonstrated itself today in a situation that no community wants to be at the center of attention for. So I just want to say thank you to the men and women of the agencies represented here today, and to thank them. Thank you all.
Hey, this gentleman right here.
Thank you. Is the individual who was shot and killed after shooting over here at Fort Detrick, and do you know anything about the relationship between him and the people who shot?
So thank you for the question. So right now, as I said, it's a very active scene. It's a very ongoing investigation. It would be premature for us to comment as to any relationships right now, and so that's something that we'll have updates for you later. We are going to have a 2:30 follow-up briefing. That is something that we would very much like to know, and our detectives are working on that right now.
Can you confirm this is an active duty military? The shooter was active duty?
We can't confirm that right now. We have information that we're following up on regarding that, but we can't confirm that. Fox 5.
One of the individual shots went into the paving. Where did the actual shooting happen? Was it on the street? Where did this all begin?
There's a kind of a row of businesses inside the tech park there. It occurred at one of those businesses, and that's all we can really tell you at this time.
Like these people knew each other?
At this time, these are all things that, trust me, we want to know as much as you do, if not more, and that's something we're working on now. Hopefully, we'll be able to give you some more information at our afternoon briefing.
Chief, did he actually enter the base?
Again, all of the information I gave you in my initial statement is all that we are able to release at this time. And I know you want more information. Please I would ask you to give us a few hours to work on those details.
Chief, what are the genders of the people who are injured?
They're all adult males, the shooter and both victims.
What's the name of the business, Chief?
This time, all we can release is that it's in the Riverside Tech Park.
Could I just ask you to, Chief, when you hear about something like this happening in your community, what is the emotion that you feel right now? How are you feeling about what happened today?
It's terrible. It's unfortunate. It's very tragic. It's happening too frequently. Every time we turn on the TV, we're seeing something like this happen, and now it's happening in our backyard. So no one wants to see this type of thing. The most important thing that we want to reassure the community right now is that there's no further threat to the Frederick City and Frederick County residents.
And Chief, did the shooter actually make it onto the base, or was he stopped before he got to the base?
I believe he made it on.
Chief, did you say why you believe this gentleman went to the base? Was he there to continue a crime spree, or was that home base for him?
I can't comment. I mean, it's not that I don't want to. We just don't have that information right now.
Can you give us any information about
That personnel on the military base, and I couldn't tell you exactly who or what agency, but it was personnel on the base. It was not Frederick Police or Frederick County Sheriffs.
Chief, can you give us information about the weapon that was used, or was it more than one weapon?
We don't have that information at this time. It's not available to be released.
Can you say if the shootings took place outside or within a business?
I can tell you that the shooter went into a business, and we know that some people fled from the business, but I'm not sure at this time where exactly the shooting took place, if it was inside or outside. All right, 2:30. If you want to get with Alan, we'll pick another location. I don't know if it's going to be here, if we're going to change up the location, but 2:30 will be the next briefing. About how far is the base from here?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. It's about. He drove there.
Chief, Fort Detrick is saying that this did involve sailors. Are you able to confirm that?
I've been at this scene, and I haven't had a chance to connect with Fort Detrick personnel yet. All right.
Having the scene kind of locked off right now and shut down?
As long as it takes detectives to process it. We just want to make sure that we collect all the evidence possible. So I would just ask, if you could respect the investigators and not try and go up into the scene. Right now it's very active, and we want to make sure we collect all the evidence that's out there. We don't want anyone kind of trying to work their way into the scene. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Connor, do you have a quick sec to talk about?
All right, so to give a quick recap, you just were listening to a press briefing there from that was the Mayor Michael O'Connor, as well as the police chief in Frederick. So at 8:20 this morning, police received a phone call about a shooting, an active shooter at Riverside Tech Park on Progress Drive, which is in Frederick. The shooter then, after the shooting, well, actually, he just said that the shooter went into a business. People fled the business. There was a shooting. 2 adult males were shot. They are in critical condition at Baltimore Shock Trauma right now. The 38-year-old suspect then got in his car and drove over to Fort Detrick Military Base, which is about 10 miles away. The personnel on that base, they shot the suspect. He was down. Police arrived, performed tried to do life-saving methods there. They were not able to save him. He was down, pronounced dead. And that's where things now stand right now. Let's go to Bob Barton now and get an update.
Yeah, hey, Wisdom. We're here with Mayor Michael O'Connor, City of Frederick. Mayor, thank you for being here. I know it's a rough one this morning. Just first of all, your reaction to this happening right here today, and the world watching, obviously.
Every time you see one of these incidents happen and it happens someplace else, you're simultaneously grateful that it isn't in your community, but you're always nervous because you know that it could be. And today was the day that the City of Frederick's number came up.
I know your chief wasn't able to confirm this. Fort Detrick is saying this involves sailors. For those of our viewers who aren't as familiar with Frederick County, the City of Frederick, Fort Detrick, tell me about the military presence here.
We have a really strong relationship with the military installation. The Army garrison at Fort Detrick has been a critical research and development laboratory. It's driven economic development here in the City of Frederick. So we have a really great partnership and relationship. Strong support for our military community because there are so many people whose livelihoods are dependent upon the work that gets done at Fort Detrick every day. That's all aligned towards national security and national health issues, the research that gets done in biologics and everything else. So it's a really important part of our community.
We remember the anthrax situation from a number of years ago. Fort Detrick is saying sailors. I think a layperson would think Fort Detrick Army. Is it multiple military branches that are involved here?
There are multiple military branches stationed at Fort Detrick. So it is an Army installation, but it has allied military personnel from across the various military branches, yes.
I'm going to let you go here. I know others want to speak to you. And I know you probably are all on the same page, but beyond what the chief was able to share, anything more you know about the specific situation, the businesses involved, the victims involved, their relationship to the military?
I think at this point what we don't know is we don't know really the relationships to the businesses. The businesses may just have been the byproducts of where whatever this situation was bubbled up. It does not seem random based on what we do know at this point. It feels as though people knew one another. And so I think we just have to, it's difficult. We all want to know the answers. We all want to know why. And we have to allow the investigators to piece together all the information that they can. With two scenes and not being able to talk to the victims, it's a lot to pull together.
Mayor O'Connor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. And there you go, guys. So obviously, the information we're getting is that Fort Detrick in some way, shape, or form is involved. The military saying sailors were involved. Obviously, the gunman who was shot and killed, 38-year-old man, left here. Again, it looks on my GPS, which is how we all navigate these days, is about a 13-minute drive over almost due west of here, even though it's just about 5 miles as a bird would fly. It's about a 13-minute drive. So sometime, probably very soon after the shooting here, the gunman went to Fort Detrick. Why? Is that where he was posted? Is he a member of the military or just the victims? All the connections here. And of course, I was curious asking the chief, perhaps was the gunman going there to continue a crime spree or going home in a sense? Did get on the base, so that makes you think, and we'll probably find out at 2:30 this afternoon, whether this person was able to breach security there or perhaps flashed a badge and had, rights to be on the fort property and then was taken down. We just don't know, but clearly the military has something to do with this, unfortunately, and we'll just have to obviously, keep the 2 adult male victims who are being treated at shock trauma in Baltimore in our thoughts as they investigate this shooting situation here in the city of Frederick, which unfortunately, unless this person, the gunman, wrote things down, as often they do ahead of time, because he is dead, we may not know for sure ever what the whole motivation was. But if the victims can talk, if they pull through and can talk, we'll probably find a little bit more as well.
And certainly, Bob, we have lots of questions still out there. We hope to get those answers at 2:30 with the next briefing. But I do want to give this update. The lockdowns have been lifted at Frederick County Schools as well as Frederick Community College. And I looked up that Riverside Tech Park. I know we focused on Nico. What was the Nico Lock? Nico Lock. And they said it did not happen here. One of the victims came here for help. But that's a 60-acre business community with at least 11 businesses inside. I even saw a restaurant as well. So a lot happening there. We just don't know exactly where it took place in that complex.
Yeah, Nico Lock, a significant portion of the business park, right? So people look there and they see that, and so initially they thought that maybe it all went down there, but we know that it didn't. And Bob, they did confirm, right, the 3 people that were involved are all males.
Correct.
Exactly. Yes, the only age we have is the shooter was a 38-year-old male who was shot by personnel at Fort Detrick and killed there. The other 2 men, we don't have ages, just that they're in critical condition after being flown by helicopter to Baltimore, due east of us, to their University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center. So that's where they are being treated right now. Maryland State Police, the FBI, Frederick County Fire and Rescue, the other agencies involved, but no other information about the shooting victims other than that they also were male.
Bob, I know there's obviously media there, and all the law enforcement officials are there as well. I'm interested, is there anybody out there from the other businesses that are standing out?
Well, you know, there are some, but frankly, they are inside. There's just new police tape that has gone up. We hadn't seen any kind of physical restraint from those of us arriving here other than them yelling at us to get back a bit.
Sure.
So unfortunately, the few people we see outside of their businesses are in an area where if we started venturing that way, we'd probably get called back. At Royal Farms, which you can get to, a circuitous route, you can get there, which is where they kind of had a staging, which is the closest property, business property, where we are right now. People are coming and going, but very few, because the major roadways around here are closed. They let us kind of come in a back way through an industrial park because we were media. So those are the only other people, but you know, they're kind of coming and going. They're not necessarily those who were here at the time, 8:30 or 8:20 this morning, when the shots rang out in this area.
We didn't necessarily learn a lot that we totally didn't know in the news conference, but one confirmation that we did get, which is essential, is that there was only one shooter, and that shooter obviously was shot dead by a personnel at Fort Detrick, not by Frederick police or the sheriffs that were headed that way, and that the public is not at risk, which obviously is a huge sigh of relief, because you heard it from the police chief, you heard it from the mayor there. You know, in the back of your mind, when you see an active shooter situation, it's usually somewhere else, and then all of a sudden today, when your number gets called, it's a really scary situation, and you're like, now all of a sudden this is our story, and we're living it. So the fact that it is done and over, and now they're just working to get all the details, is good for the general public. And like you said, Marissa, the lockdowns have been lifted, and I know a lot of parents obviously breathing a sigh of relief, because that's a scary situation.
Still there yet, but you made a really good point.
Yeah, I am. I lost the ability to hear you for a moment. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, you made a really good point just a few minutes ago about whether or not, obviously we're still trying to confirm whether the shooter was a military member or not. If he is not, and at this point we do not know, it'll be interesting to see whether or not the security measures in place at the base were effective, right? Whether if he was able to get on and they were able to take him down there. We know that it's already a highly secured facility, but if he had the intention of causing more harm once he got on and he was taken down there, that would be a really important point to make, right? That those security measures were successful.
Exactly, because those 2 points are factual, according to the Frederick City Police, that this gunman was able to get onto the base. We don't know how far onto the property, but that was then he was then taken down. You know, I don't think they ever used the word shot, but I think we can presume shot and killed there on the property. So definitely was able to get on the base, but you know, we don't know if that was a breach or flashed an ID and was waved on or not. And then at some point, because the sense we got from the briefing here was that it's not like this person was chased into Fort Detrick or to the base from here, but that they got information about this person. And it could very well be, and we don't know this yet, that the first anybody knew that these two things were connected was when, for whatever reason, this person was taken down at the base, whether it's because the 38-year-old gunman from this scene breached the base, like, you know, drove past security and then had to be shot, or got on and at some point soon thereafter it was learned somehow that this guy was involved. We here. But that's kind of the sense we're getting, is that this was not a chase situation where this gunman was followed to Fort Detrick, but somehow was taken down there after getting onto the property for whatever reason.
Now, Bob, real quick, I got a question for you about Nico Lock. Because when you look at it on the map, it looks like it is I know you said that it's a giant building. So there are other businesses inside that giant building, or on the map it looks like it's the only thing that's in that location?
Wisdom, I'm sorry, I was just chatting with someone here. Ask again, I apologize.
That's okay. That's all right. I know you're doing your thing, Bob. I was just asking about Nico Lock, the building that we're seeing, because on the map it looks like that's the only thing that's there. But I understand that there are some other businesses either inside or close by, or something was in something else is there.
They must be on the other side.
Okay.
They must be on the other side, because all we're seeing is the name Nico Lock here, and it looks like, it is the primary business here. But, and we are, look, as you see the sun hitting it, we're kind of on the due east side of Nico Lock. So, what's on the west side that we can't see, I just don't know. But it's a large complex and a large company, whereas across the street here, it's smaller, like little units of kind of commercial businesses, whereas that's more industrial. But at this point, the only one we can see, including their materials stacked.
Right. And Bob, you said the employees can come and go, or have they been evacuated? What's the situation? Because police are going to be on the scene there for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. There are right now fewer police vehicles surrounding the property and the entrance. I haven't seen, besides from our vantage point, from maybe a little less than a quarter mile away, people who look like they're in law enforcement. I don't see, groups of what would appear to be employees leaving or coming. So, I can't imagine the place is on a lockdown still, but we're not seeing trucks or people who work at Nico Lock coming and going, at least from where we are. Perhaps there's another entrance exit that's not blocked on the other side, on the west, the northwest side of the building that we can't see. But, Monocacy Boulevard, which is what you're seeing here, is just kind of, it's closed. I mean, it's blocked off, and it's just police vehicles that we're seeing. Fewer than we saw an hour ago, but still, quite a few.
And you got to imagine police or investigators are going to do what they typically do, right? Pull surveillance video, talk to witnesses, anyone that might know something. But so much of this possibly lies with the victims themselves as far as information, and the suspect who is now dead. And if the victims are fighting for their lives, the two men who are at the hospital right now, who knows when detectives will be able to get some information from them as far as what led up to the shooting, what relationship possibly they had to the shooter, things like that. So I know all of us, of course, want to know more about this, especially those who live in that immediate area. But police, more so than any of us, who want to speak to those victims and find out if there was any interaction between the victims and the shooter beforehand.
And I do believe... Oh, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you wonder, what brought them here. We didn't get a sense from the police whether the two victims worked next door. Again, the sense from Nico Lock is that the victims nor the gunman had anything to do with them, other than at least one of the victims, showing up on their front doorstep. So we don't know what brought all these people here, whether they were working or whether they had business or were, contracted to another company that's close by, but we can't see. We just don't know.
Bob, this is Marissa here. On the other side of where you are, there appears to be more, almost like it's not a strip mall, but just a line of businesses. And I'm on a website now here about Riverside Tech Park, and they have a lot of biotech firms as well as technology companies. I'm not going to name them because we don't know exactly where this happened, but in that complex. So at least 12 other businesses on the other side of where you are.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately what we just can't see, and I hate to leave this location in case people come out or there's more information that will come our way. That's just what we can't see from this location, which is where Frederick City Police, suggested we come to, where they are, obviously, so that's why, we got the briefing here. But yeah, we just can't see, unfortunately, from our vantage point, what's over there, the business that may have been where this all started. I wish I could tell you, Marissa. I just don't know.
All right. And just to reiterate what we were talking about earlier, it is not necessarily the only connection to Nico Lock. We keep talking about Nico Lock, but the only connection to Nico Lock is that one of the victims ran into Nico Lock, which was the closest business, one of the closest businesses nearby, to get assistance. So they put out a statement saying that this did not happen on their property. It did not happen inside their building, and it did not necessarily have a connection to them. So we just want to make that clear, because I know we're seeing a lot of Nico Lock.
They did report, Wisdom, though, that one of the victims went into their building asking for help, and that their employee, was able to assist, thankfully, right? And then we're also able to call authorities. It goes without saying, it has been an unnerving morning for the people that live and work in the area of Frederick, Maryland. This is not far from the downtown area. And, we see active shootings take place. They make headlines all too frequently. That's what the police chief of Frederick said himself. It's tragic and it's happening too frequently. Today it happened in our area, in our backyard, up in Frederick, Maryland. And so now they're trying to figure out the details of this story. What happened? Why did it happen? How did it exactly go down? What we do know is that 2 people are fighting for their life because they were shot at this morning. They were airlifted to Baltimore Shock Trauma. There is a shooter that lost his life. He was gunned down because of his actions, taken out by personnel at Fort Detrick. Multiple scenes here. It started over in this business park. It ended over at the military installation. Lots of questions, but it caused an entire city, schools, military base, everything to go into lockdown. And there was a high scare factor, but there was a lot of collaboration and cooperation. That's what the mayor said, from law enforcement, for them to be able to actually resolve this in the grand scheme of things relatively quickly. A lot of answers, though. We'll be following it all day across all our social media platforms, and of course we'll have the very latest on Fox 5 at 4. Until then, everyone stay safe on this Tuesday.